Have you ever wondered why some people manage to achieve extraordinary levels of success, while others seem trapped in an endless cycle of mediocrity? It's not magic, nor is it just about luck. The real difference lies in a unique mindset and a series of principles that successful people rigorously adopt. In this video, we're going to explore 9 things that truly successful people never do, and how these behaviors can transform your life if applied with discipline and wisdom. Success is not a destination. It's a continuous journey of personal improvement and overcoming challenges. What separates those who succeed from those who fall behind is the ability to identify and avoid certain self-destructive patterns. This is where Stoic philosophy comes into play, offering ancient wisdom that, far from being a set of rigid rules, is a practical guide to living with purpose, serenity, and effectiveness. First, it's essential to understand that success isn't only measured by material achievements. It's about developing a resilient mind, the ability to face adversity without losing balance, and an unwavering focus on what truly matters. Successful people not only pursue their goals with determination, they also avoid falling into common traps that sabotage progress. These traps are subtle but dangerous, and understanding how to avoid them is key for anyone looking to reach their maximum potential. Before we begin, I invite you to subscribe and hit the bell if you value the knowledge and wisdom we share. By doing so, you'll always be aware of new insights that can transform your life. Let's begin. Number 1. They don't complain about the inevitable. Have you ever stopped to consider how pointless constant complaining is? It's like being stuck in traffic and yelling at the steering wheel, hoping the traffic will magically move. If this sounds familiar, then you're in good company, because successful people never waste their time complaining. It's not that they're insensitive. They've learned that complaining is a distraction that diverts attention from what really matters. Complaining is easy, comfortable, and gives us the illusion of doing something useful, when in reality, we're just stuck. Imagine you're in an obstacle race. Instead of jumping over the barrier, you decide to lament how high it is. Will you reach the finish line? Of course not. This is exactly what happens when you spend your day complaining. A simple example: your boss assigns you a project that doesn't excite you. You could complain to your colleagues about how unfair it is, or you could channel that energy into doing it well and proving how competent you are. The first path is easy, but it leads nowhere. The second, though more challenging, will lead to better results and a solid reputation. This is where Stoic philosophy offers us an invaluable lesson. The Stoics teach us that the key to overcoming obstacles isn't in lamenting, but in controlling our reactions and focusing on what we can really change. It's not about avoiding problems, but managing them with calm and rationality. Instead of complaining about traffic, you could use that time to listen to an audiobook, plan your week, or simply relax. Complaining won't make the traffic move faster, but your attitude can make the experience less frustrating. Complaining is the cheapest form of entertainment there is, but if you really want to move forward, it's better to leave it behind. Focus on what you can control and act accordingly. The next time you feel the urge to complain, remember that all you'll achieve is more noise and less progress. Opt for action, for change, for facing problems instead of lamenting them, because at the end of the day, complaints solve nothing. They just keep you in the same place. As Carl Jung said, complaints are the quickest way to remain in the same stage of your life without moving forward. Number 2. They don't avoid personal responsibility. Let's be honest, blaming others is a common sport. You don't need to be a detective to see how people become experts at finding someone to blame for their own mistakes. It's much easier than looking in the mirror and recognizing that sometimes the problem isn't with others, but with how we play our cards. Imagine life is a chessboard. and you're the grandmaster. Now, instead of assuming you're responsible for moving the pieces, you decide that the blame for your losses lies with the board, the clock, or even your opponent. Sounds absurd, right? Because it is. But that's exactly what you do when you blame others for your failures or problems. You're not learning to play better. You're just avoiding your own responsibility. Let's take a simple example. Suppose you're not advancing in your job. Instead of thinking about how you could improve your skills or attitude, you decide that your boss is an insurmountable obstacle and that the company is full of bad vibes. As long as you see your boss or the company as the villains of the story, you're condemning yourself to a life of stagnation and frustration. If you focused on your own actions and how you can improve, you'd have a much better chance of progressing. This is where Stoic philosophy comes in handy again. The Stoics believed that true freedom and tranquility come from accepting total responsibility for our actions and decisions. It's like being given the power to write the script of your own life, instead of letting others do it for you. Taking responsibility is also a form of personal growth. Every time you take responsibility for a situation, even if it's not entirely your fault, you're taking a step toward personal development. It's like being a sculptor, and every mistake you recognize and correct is a chisel stroke that brings you closer to the masterpiece you're destined to be. Of course, this doesn't mean you should ignore external influences. Sometimes rain ruins your picnic, and that's not your fault. But even in those cases, instead of cursing the weather, why not find an alternative solution? Maybe an afternoon at home with a good book is exactly what you needed. The next time you feel tempted to point the finger, remember that 3 fingers are pointing back at you. Taking responsibility for your actions not only makes you more mature, but also gives you the power to transform your life. Stop looking for scapegoats and start being the hero of your own story. True strength lies in accepting our part in the story, rather than blaming others for the script. Number 3. They don't lose their cool in disputes. There's an old saying that arguing is like running on a hamster wheel. No matter how hard you try, you always stay in the same place. But if you thought it was just about patience, let me tell you, there's something deeper and more stoic in keeping calm and avoiding arguments. Imagine you're at a party, and in the middle of the conversation, someone mentions a topic that deeply irritates you. Immediately, your mind starts working at full speed. This is complete nonsense. I have to correct it. But before you jump into the arena like a gladiator, consider this. How many really important arguments have you won at a party? Arguments are usually like fireworks. They shine brightly, make a lot of noise, but in the end, they leave only smoke and debris. People tend to defend their positions fervently, and you could end up trapped in a no-win fight. The truth is, in most cases, arguments only serve to increase tension, and instead of resolving anything, they only complicate things. This is where Stoic philosophy offers us a clear vision. Focus on what we can control and let go of what is beyond our reach. Imagine you're in a boat in the middle of the sea. The waves represent other people's opinions, and the wind represents arguments. If you try to fight against the wind, you'll end up exhausted and directionless. Instead, if you steer the boat calmly, guiding it in the right direction, you can navigate smoothly through the waves. So how can you apply this philosophy in your daily life? First, take a deep breath before responding to any provocation. It's not necessary to jump into the ring every time someone says something you don't like. Calmness is your best ally. Additionally, instead of getting into a heated argument, seek common ground. If you disagree with someone, try to find a point where you can both agree. It's not about winning the argument, but about maintaining effective and respectful communication. The key to avoiding fruitless arguments is finding middle ground. You don't have to agree with everything the other person says, but you can approach the topic with an open and constructive attitude. Think of it as a dance where both are trying to find the rhythm that allows them to move together. In the end, the goal is to maintain harmony and understanding, not to prove who's right. So the next time you find yourself on the brink of a meaningless argument, remember, it's not about winning, but about staying calm and seeking practical solutions. By adopting this approach, you'll not only improve your relationships, but also avoid the emotional drain that unnecessary arguments bring. The true victory lies in peace and stability, not in a one argument. You've made it this far because you're determined to avoid the mistakes that hinder success. Comment, "I avoid mistakes," to show your commitment to change. Subscribe to Stoicism for winners and start your journey toward personal improvement. We'll accompany you every step of the way toward a life free of mistakes and full of Stoic success. Let's continue. Number 4, they don't boast about their achievements. Have you noticed how many people seem to believe that the secret to success is making noise? It's as if the volume of your own voice is directly proportional to your success in life. But here's the trick. If you're trying to impress others with grand speeches about your greatness, you might be missing a fundamental truth. True actions speak louder than words. Humility isn't just a noble quality, it's a life strategy. You don't have to brag to be successful. Yes, it's tempting to talk about your achievements, share your victories, and post every little step on your social media. But often those grand announcements are just a smokescreen. The real strength lies in acting without the need for fanfare. When you stay humble, you allow your achievements to speak for themselves. Imagine you're an iceberg. Most of what you are and have done is below the surface. The visible pieces at the top are just a fraction of the whole. The more you boast, the more likely people are to focus on that small visible part, ignoring the real greatness that lies underwater. Staying humble has benefits both professionally and personally. Those who prepare in silence, train with dedication, and maintain a low profile are the ones who really achieve results. This doesn't mean you should hide your achievements, but it's more effective to prove your worth through your actions rather than your words. How can you apply this Stoic philosophy in your daily life? First, review your intentions. Are you acting because you genuinely want to contribute and make a difference, or just to get recognition? It's a subtle but powerful adjustment. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control, our actions and our attitude, and to let go of what we can't control, like other people's opinions. If you can integrate this mindset into your life, you'll find that true satisfaction comes from knowing that your actions, more than your words, define you. Staying humble isn't a sign of weakness, but a shrewd strategy. The next time you feel the need to shout about your achievements, remember that true greatness lies in the stillness of your actions and the strength of your character. As Rockefeller wisely said, the true measure of success isn't found in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your actions. Number 5, they don't raise their voice to be heard. Have you ever been in a conversation where you found yourself yelling as if you were in the middle of an action movie? If you've been in this situation, you've experienced the worst thing you can do to resolve a conflict. Yelling isn't the answer. In fact, it can be your worst enemy. When you're faced with a problem, the first instinct is to shout it out to the world. Enough! You're wrong. But if you look beyond, you realize that this isn't solving anything. Yelling not only makes you seem out of control, but also widens the gap between you and the other person. Instead of listening, the other person is probably thinking about how to escape the conversation rather than resolving the problem. Imagine you're sailing through a storm at sea. How would yelling at the wind to calm down help you? Exactly, it wouldn't help at all. What you really need is to stay on course, analyze the situation, and find practical solutions. Calmness, in this case, is your compass. Staying calm during a difficult conversation not only allows you to think clearly, but also shows the other person that you're capable of handling the situation with maturity. How can you avoid falling into the trap of yelling? First, take a deep breath. Stop and breathe as if you were inflating a balloon. This will help you center yourself and think before speaking. If you see yourself getting heated, take a moment to organize your thoughts. It's like giving your mind a break so it doesn't speak before it's had time to think. Second, listen actively. It's not just about waiting for the other person to finish speaking so you can say what you think. It's about really listening, understanding the other person's point of view, and considering their feelings. This not only facilitates a faster resolution of the conflict, but also gives you the advantage of better understanding the problem from a different angle. Finally, communicate your points clearly and calmly. Use specific examples and avoid generalizations. Saying, "You always do this," only serves to put the other person on the defensive. Instead, say, "I'm concerned when this happens, and I'd like to find a solution together." Staying calm in conversations isn't just a communication technique, it's a life philosophy. If you let yourself be carried away by yelling and anger, you end up fueling chaos instead of resolving it. Stoic philosophy, which teaches us to maintain tranquility and focus on what we can control, is a powerful tool for this. In the end, remember that the key to resolving conflicts effectively is to stay calm and communicate clearly. So, the next time you find yourself in the middle of a heated conversation, take a deep breath, listen, and speak calmly. You'll see how the chaos dissolves and solutions begin to appear. As Nelson Mandela said, "Yelling doesn't solve problems, it just stops you from listening to reason." Number 6. They don't underestimate the power of listening. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have their lives figured out, while others drown in a sea of meaningless words? It's not magic, nor is it a secret skill. It's simply the way they use their ears. Listening before speaking, a skill as rare as it is valuable. Successful people, that rare breed we all admire, listen more than they talk. While you fill the air with your own opinions, they're there, silently absorbing every word, every nuance, every whisper of wisdom that surrounds them. By listening, they learn. By talking, they only confirm what they already know. Don't get me wrong, talking is necessary, but if you do it just to hear yourself, you might want to reconsider your approach. Think of it as if you were in an antique bookstore. If you walk in and only talk about your fascinating collection of rare editions, you're probably not going to leave with a new book under your arm. But if you stop to listen to others, ask them about their finds, and share your thoughts without imposing them, you're much more likely to discover a treasure you didn't even know existed. Stoic philosophy teaches us that wisdom is found in reflective silence, not in constant chatter. Furthermore, the act of listening not only enriches your knowledge, but also improves your personal and professional relationships. Imagine you're in a work meeting, and you're the only one who interrupts every 5 minutes. It's like being in a basketball game where only you are playing, and instead of passing the ball, you keep it all the time. How do you expect to win the game like that? Instead, if you listen carefully, you better understand the strategies, concerns, and points of view of others. In the end, the whole team plays better, and you become a valuable part of the game. Of course, listening doesn't mean you should become a mere spectator of your own life. The key is finding the perfect balance between active listening and considered expression. Listening is like gathering ingredients for a recipe. You need to know what you have before you start cooking. Once you understand what you're working with, your words carry more weight and relevance. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation or situation where you can learn something, remember, you don't need to be the center of attention to succeed. Sometimes the greatest power lies in keeping your mouth shut and your ears open. Take every opportunity to listen and learn, because in silence often lies the greatest treasure. Remember that successful people know something you could learn. Instead of talking non-stop, spend a little more time listening. Not only will it help you accumulate wisdom, but it will also make you much more interesting in the process. As a wise Stoic proverb says, "The wise man listens more than he speaks because he knows that the truth hides in silence." Number 7, they don't judge others. Have you ever wondered how some people manage to be successful in their relationships and in life? It's not about having a magic wand or being born with a special talent. The key, my friend, might lie in something as simple and yet as complicated as not judging. Yes, you heard that right. Imagine for a moment that you're watching a movie, and instead of being the protagonist, you're the spectator. As you watch the screen, every character makes mistakes, has weaknesses, and faces challenges. Do you start yelling at them from the couch for every little mistake? Or do you find yourself understanding their decisions even when you don't agree with them? It's easier to be critical from a distance, but in real life the story changes. When you place yourself in the role of a judge without even realizing it, you put yourself on a pedestal of superiority that, ironically, only distances you from others. This is where Stoic philosophy offers a practical perspective for daily relationships. The Stoics teach us that we should accept what we can't change and focus on what we can influence, our reaction. If your first impulse is to judge someone, remember that this only traps you in a loop of negativity and prevents you from connecting with others. How can you avoid falling into constant judgment? First, practice empathy. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes not only helps you understand their motivations, but also opens the door to a deeper connection. It's as if we had an invisible net that connects us all. When you choose to be kind instead of critical, that net strengthens, and in the end, you benefit too. For example, suppose you have a friend who's always late. Instead of thinking they're disrespectful, why not consider that maybe they have a very complicated schedule or are dealing with problems you don't know about? Imagine the difference it would make if, instead of giving them a disapproving look, you offered your understanding, or better yet, asked if they needed help with something. Suddenly, that tense relationship could turn into a stronger friendship. So the next time you feel tempted to judge, remember that we're all dealing with our own invisible battles. Empathy not only improves our relationships, but also makes you a more understanding and, yes, more successful person in life. It's not about being a saint, but about remembering that, as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, we cannot control others' actions, only our own reactions. Ultimately, success in relationships doesn't come from pointing out others' mistakes, but from building bridges of understanding and support. Stop looking for faults and start offering support, because at the end of the day, we all want a little compassion instead of judgment. As Gandhi rightly said, empathy builds bridges that judgment only destroys. Number 8, they don't put off until tomorrow what they can do today. Have you ever seen someone successful at a conference giving an inspiring talk and thought, wow, they're so lucky, they really have their life figured out? I assure you that behind that shiny image, there's a simple truth that, although it doesn't always sound glamorous, makes a big difference. Successful people don't procrastinate. Yes, you heard that right. They don't put off until tomorrow what they can do today. Instead of procrastinating, they face tasks with the same determination with which a runner launches off the starting line. Imagine you have a mountain of tasks to do, and you decide that, well, you'll take it easy. That attitude is like telling your mountain to give you space to settle in, but instead, the mountain keeps growing. And in the end, it not only crushes you, but also creates a mountain of stress. Successful people understand something fundamental. Procrastination is like pouring gasoline on a fire that's already burning. It only makes the fire bigger and harder to control. Now, don't get me wrong, we've all fallen into the temptation of putting things off. It's like when you see a plate of broccoli and tell yourself you'll eat it later, but that later never comes. But successful people know that putting things off only makes their burden heavier. Instead, they adopt a philosophy that could well be described as stoic. They face tasks with firmness, not letting the stress of the moment sidetrack them. What can you do to stop procrastinating and start being more productive? First, break your tasks into manageable pieces. If you have a big project, instead of seeing just the mountain, imagine you're climbing a series of hills. By breaking it down into smaller tasks, it's easier to tackle them one by one. The key is to stay focused. Instead of thinking about everything you have to do, focus only on the next step. Second, set short deadlines. Big projects can seem overwhelming, but if you impose smaller deadlines, you can make the process more manageable. It's like instead of running a marathon all at once, you decide to run in sprints. This not only keeps you motivated, but also gives you small wins along the way. Finally, remember that success doesn't come to those who wait, but to those who act. Don't let procrastination rob you of the possibility of achieving your goals. By adopting a proactive and disciplined mindset, you'll be closer to the success you admire in others. If you ever find yourself tempted to put things off, remember, success isn't a product of luck, but of constant and deliberate action. As the great Marcus Aurelius said, procrastination is nothing more than the art of avoiding success at all costs. Number 9. They don't fear change. Change, that dreaded monster that with its invisible tentacles seems to lurk in every corner of our lives. We often see it as a threat, as if it were a storm that's going to destroy everything we know and love. But what if I told you that change is actually a disguised ally? Yes, that same change you try so hard to avoid is actually the passport to greatness. If you wonder how successful people do it, here's a hint. They don't fear change. They embrace it with a smile. Imagine for a moment you're on a dance floor. Now, instead of following firm and predictable steps, imagine you have to improvise. At first you'll stumble, feel uncomfortable, and want to go back to the safe choreography you already knew. But if you dare to follow the rhythm of the music and adapt to the changing movements, you might discover a new way of dancing, much more exciting and free. This is what successful people do with change. They don't stay anchored in routine. Instead, they jump into the dance, even when the music changes unexpectedly. Stoic philosophy offers us an interesting piece of advice on this subject. The Stoics teach us that we can't control external events, but we can control our response to them. So instead of fighting against change, the best thing we can do is accept it as part of life and adjust our actions accordingly. This doesn't mean you should become a passive spectator of your life. No, the goal is to learn to navigate through changes with flexibility and adaptability. Here are some techniques that can help you. First, keep an open mind. Stop seeing change as a threat and start seeing it as an opportunity to learn something new. It's like when you move to a new city. At first you feel lost, but over time you discover great places and make new friends. The same goes for facing changes in your personal life or career. Second, let go of the need for absolute control. Life is like a road with unexpected curves. You can't plan every turn, but you can prepare your mind to adapt to new landscapes. Flexibility is your best friend on this road full of surprises. Learn to see failure as a springboard, not a trap. When something doesn't go as expected, instead of sinking into self-pity, look for the lesson in the experience. Remember, even the biggest mistakes can teach you valuable lessons that will lead you to a better destination. If you want to achieve success, it's essential to learn to embrace change rather than resist it. Successful people don't live in a static world. They thrive in the constant dynamics of life, adapting and evolving with every challenge they face. So the next time you feel panic at an impending change, remember, you're about to learn something new and exciting. So get ready to dance to the rhythm of change. As Mario Alonso Puig wisely says, opportunities don't come to those who fear change, but to those who embrace it with courage. At the end of the day, we all face choices that shape our destiny. What decisions are you making today that will define your tomorrow? True greatness isn't found in avoiding challenges, but in facing them with courage and wisdom. Ask yourself, am I living according to my values, or am I letting fear and comfort dictate my actions? Life doesn't wait, and every moment is an opportunity to grow, learn, and improve. The true lesson isn't in avoiding mistakes, but in knowing how to turn them into a stepping stone to success. So, what steps will you take today to ensure you're moving in the right direction? I'm excited to hear your stories of overcoming challenges on this topic. Share your victories, your struggles, and your experiences. If you don't know what to comment, write, "I let go and receive," to show that you've completed our session. Your voice is essential here. Every reflection strengthens and elevates our community, reflecting the true value of each individual and contributing to our shared Stoic identity. We'll see you in our next meeting on Stoicism for Winners, where we'll continue exploring the riches of Stoic wisdom applied to modern life. Now, take the opportunity to expand your understanding of Stoicism with these recommended videos. Until we meet again, remember, you're the sole owner of your perception, the creator of your peace, and the warrior of your own battle. This is the legacy of Stoicism, the art of being invincible.